Would you like to see former President Donald Trump become the president once again in 2024? Well, there's been a lot going on with him right now regarding his case with Stormy Daniels. Over the last 48 hours, take a look at what's been going on. Analysis: jail time for contempt could spell out political trouble for Donald Trump, as they're saying he has violated the gag order and that he could be potentially facing jail time if this continues. Now, yesterday, Stormy Daniels told the court that she hated Trump in her testimony and wanted him held accountable. Now, what we're hearing is that Trump's team is arguing that the prosecutors strayed beyond the scope of what they should have been permitted to ask Stormy Daniels, and as a result, they have requested a mistrial for the case. But the judge denies Trump's lawyers a request for a mistrial over Stormy Daniels' testimony. So this is all going on right now as we are preparing for the elections, and former President Donald Trump is getting ready to run. Let me know your thoughts on this. Do you think this is going to cause an issue for him running in the elections, or do you think that this is just something they're doing to distract from him being able to run his campaign? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, but I'm going to be sharing with you the latest video footage getting you caught up on this as former President Donald Trump is facing this as he prepares to run for the presidency. So I'm going to go ahead and dive right in, show you the latest footage. But before we do me a quick favor. If you appreciate the updates, don't forget to take a quick second, hit that like button for me, subscribe to stay up to date. And also, if you haven't heard, big announcement from the Social Security Administration on benefit cut dates just released in the last 48 hours. Stick around to the end for some updates on that as well. But with that being said, let's go ahead and dive right in.
Okay, so from one storm to another, Stormy Daniels back in the court on the stand tomorrow in the New York versus Donald Trump trial after the judge denied the defense's request for a mistrial.
I debated doing that transition. Glad you took it. Brooke Singman joins us now with more. Hey, Brooke.
Hey, good morning, guys. Yeah, attorneys for former President Trump requested a mistrial after the judge had to warn Stormy Daniels and the prosecution that her testimony gave irrelevant and unnecessary details about her alleged 2006 affair with Trump. But despite admitting the witness is hard to control, the judge still decided to proceed with the case. During her testimony, Stormy Daniels was clear on her feelings towards the former president. Trump's attorney asking, quote, "Am I correct that you hate President Trump?" And Daniels responding, quote, "Correct." And when asked, quote, "And you want him to go to jail?" Daniels replied, "If he is found guilty, yes." Daniels was also questioned about how she benefited financially from sharing her story, but she denies that she was trying to extort the former president. She did admit, however, that she has, quote, "been making money by telling her story about what happened," but added, quote, "It has also cost me a lot of money." Meanwhile, former President Trump says it was a good day for his team. Listen.
So this was a very big day, a very revealing day. As you see, their case is totally falling apart. They have nothing on books and records, and even something that should bear very little relationship to the case. It's just a disaster for the DA, for the Soros-backed DA. It's a disaster.
And on Truth Social, he said, quote, "Great day in court today. I can't believe I'm gagged as the Republican nominee for president from talking about it. My constitutional rights have been taken away. MAGA 2024. And Stormy Daniels will be back on the stand tomorrow morning in Manhattan when Trump's defense attorneys will continue their cross-examination. Guys.
It's because we have our Wednesdays off at the Trump trial there in New York. We begin again on Thursday. Brooke, thank you. Let's bring in former federal prosecutor and criminal defense attorney Andrew Cherkasky. Andrew, let's cut to the chase. Did you hear anything from Stormy Daniels that has anything to do with the business records allegedly at the center of the alleged illegality in this case?
There was nothing about Stormy Daniels' testimony that did anything to advance any degree of a theory of guilt in this case. In fact, I think it blew the prosecution's case into smithereens, essentially, in that it showed and exposed them for the lack of a case that they actually have. The sordid details of what Stormy Daniels says happens back in 2006, I thought seemed incredibly uncredible or incredible because she says she can't even remember the act that she's alleging occurred way back then. Not any detail of it, not any sort of specifics of it. So I think the prosecution's case is in trouble. I think that the jury is likely losing their patience with the prosecutors in this case. And I think that this is a whole big mess that we all saw coming from a mile away.
On the sordid details front, the exact quote from Judge Merchan was, "I agree that it would have been better if some of those things had been left unsaid, but I don't believe we're at a point where a mistrial is warranted." What do you think about that?
Well, I'm interested and curious if Judge Merchan thinks that, because he's so convinced that this case is headed to an acquittal or perhaps even a directed verdict from him. Unless the government presents more evidence, at least some evidence of guilt, he's going to be compelled to actually grant a motion for a directed verdict in this case, because the prosecution has to present some evidence of guilt. And so when we go back to the actual idea of whether there are fraudulent entries in the business records, the state still has not presented a theory as to what should have been in those business records. Certainly, Stormy Daniels was not their witness to testify about what should have been in accounting books, and we've heard now for weeks that these are reasonable entries to summarize as legal expenses. Again, I don't think anything that happened yesterday did anything to advance any degree of theory of guilt here, and I think Judge Merchan did a very poor job of respecting the objections that the defense had placed before trial, before court yesterday, and then had some objections during the day, and he just kind of let it go. He just let it go, even though he had put those guardrails up.
Just to be clear, a directed verdict is when the judge says, based upon the facts and the law presented, I'm going to rule in favor of the defense before it even gets to a jury. So just want to be clear on that point.
So wait, are you saying that that is a possibility that could happen?
Well, right now I think that it's the only option, actually, because now we'll see what Michael Cohen's testimony is. The judge can't do a directed verdict if there is some evidence of guilt, even without giving weight to it. Okay. So if Michael Cohen comes in and gives some theory of guilt, then it will actually make it to the jury. But unless there's more, I think that there's a problem in the case.
Okay, that is one view. I'm going to go pessimistic for Donald Trump and say there are 12 jurors there. You have a judge that is clearly involved with the Democratic Party in some way, shape, or form. You have 12 jurors in the most liberal city in the country, or at least one of them, New York. If Donald Trump is convicted, just yesterday alone, what would you have seized upon in preparing an appellate brief to appeal whatever happened in court yesterday?
Well, I'll tell you that I've got faith in the jury system. I've had a lot of guys accused of terrible crimes sitting next to me, where juries come in, they see those charges, and they hate that person sitting next to me more than I think even these juries would hate Donald Trump. But they're willing to sit through the trial. They're willing to hear all the facts. So I have faith in the jury system. I have faith in the facts that that have failed to be presented in this case. But the case that we have right now, there's appellate issues all over the place. The idea that Judge Merchan even allowed Stormy Daniels to testify at all, much less get into the fact of the matter as to whether there was or was not an affair in 2006, that does nothing to establish the legitimacy of the business record entries in 2017. It does nothing to advance that. And so I think an appellate court would be very critical of that. But that's besides the point, because once we get to an appellate system, if that were to happen here with a conviction, that's way past the 2024 election, and then we have truly election interference at hand.
Okay, so Susan Hoffinger, she is a prosecutor for DA Alvin Bragg, donated $500 to Biden's campaign in 2020, $900 to Act Blue during the 2020 election cycle. Does this surprise you? Does this matter?
It's no surprise, but I think it's the answer as to why these prosecutors have such blinders on about the lack of quality of their case. I mean, we've got Alvin Bragg, who's essentially put into office promising that he wants to take down Donald Trump. We've got issues with the judge. We've got issues with other prosecutors on the case, Michael Colangelo, and now more contributions to the Democratic Party. The idea that they are deeply biased and they're not seeing this case for the garbage, I guess you could say it is, I think is answered in the evidence of their bias.
You wonder if the jury, to your point, not only was realistically viewing yesterday as what it was, but has been bored by the testimony thus far because it doesn't prove any law.
They weren't bored yesterday.
But I think yesterday they may have been entertained, but I think up to this point it was boring. Yesterday it was entertaining, but the overall takeaway, there's no there, and we've said that for 3 to 4 weeks now.
And there's 2 attorneys sitting on that jury, so they of all people know there should be more.
Yeah, and prosecutors say that they want another 2 weeks, so more to come. Stormy Daniels back on the stand on Thursday.
So there you have it. And again, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you think that this is going to hinder former President Donald Trump from winning the elections in 2024? Or do you think that this is just a distraction and that he's going to do fine against current President Joe Biden? Let me know your thoughts. Now, in addition to that, if you missed the big announcement, the Social Security Administration released new updates. Check out this video right here regarding the solvency issue with Social Security and when Social Security and Medicare will both run out of funding and not be able to provide 100% of benefits, and there will be across-the-board cuts to the programs. So again, to see that, check out this video right here next. And that is the latest, you guys, and I'll be sure to keep you up to date as more information comes out. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care. God bless. This is Steve.